God's power is greater. And I don't just know that because of Job's life and his story. I know it because of my own personal story. We all have a story. And for us believers, we know what power is greater because we can see both powers operating here. But we know that God's power is almighty. There's no greater power than God's power, especially when you going through life and you facing stuff and you confronting things and they leave you powerless. There's nothing you can do to overcome the thing in and of your own power, so it makes you powerless. We have no choice but to trust a greater power. We have no choice but to look outside of this realm. I was forced to do this. I was forced to pursue this great and almighty power on my own simply because of the way my life was unfolding. I had no choice. It was that intense. It was that great. It's the reason why I know spiritual warfare at this level. Because the warfare that Job experienced in his life was not to this degree of warfare that we are experiencing in this present day. It's a whole different time era. Satan did not have nearly half of the devices that he has now to use to influence man. Simply with technology alone. There's no technology in the biblical day. This, in and of itself, is a huge way that the enemy has invaded us. Because there's all types of wickedness happening through technology and media, and I'm not saying that these things are bad. No, 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 no. What I'm saying is there are two powers operating at all times. There are two powers operating. So the same thing that someone can take and use to do good, someone else can take and use to do bad. Why? Because these two different individuals are being influenced by two different powers here. So when you have the forces of light working and operating in someone's life, that is going to be an influence for them to do good, to be positive, to walk upright, be obedient, do things in decency and in order. When you have the power of darkness operating in someone's life, it's going to influence them to do negative things, to not be obedient, not do things in order. Because these are the two different powers. One is a good, one is a bad. One is light, one is darkness. One is life, one is death. There's so many ways to look at it. But my message is God is almighty. God is all powerful. God is all wise. God is all knowing. This is not going to change no matter what's happening in the earth. This is my final answer, my final decision. This is what I stand on. It doesn't even matter. I could die today or tomorrow. It doesn't matter. It's the same. It's not going to change for me. Because the thing about it is, when you are marked for righteousness, when God has marked you for good, you're going to fulfill that goodness. Everything He have marked you for, what He have called you to do, you're going to do that in the earth. So while we all have an expiration date, we all have a round trip ticket. We just don't know the actual date and time we are leaving out. But while we are here, we are going to accomplish the thing that we were purposed to accomplish here. That's why we are here. That's what we are put here for. And a lot of time we are facing things, we go through things in life, and it leaves us questioning why. And it can make you feel like you don't have any purpose. It can make you feel like, there is no reason, no good reason for you to be here, especially when you are someone who is experienced or have experienced so much darkness in your life. I don't know exactly how old Job was. I don't know how long he was in this season of darkness. But I do know that from what I experienced and from what I know about Job's story, I experienced a much greater level of warfare. But with the same spirits. The same spirits that were on the earth in biblical day, they are here today still. Now, my afflictions, oh my goodness, they started much earlier in my life, all the way into my childhood. All the way to childhood. And as a child, you definitely, all you do is live in confusion because you're wondering about all this stuff. You have all these questions and you're wishing for stuff at the same time. So you come up just in the midst of confusion. And then we look to our parents, we look to other adults, we look to teachers, we look to all these other models and figures that, we come in contact with along the way as we are journeying now through life. But no one seems to quite be able to give you these exact answers that you're looking for. It's like, you fishing for a needle in a haystack almost. And then that brings about another kind of frustration because you're wondering, am I ever going to figure this out? Some people in this life don't think that there is anything to figure out. But for people, believers, and more specifically people who have faced tragedy and crisis and hardship and all this stuff, they know it's something to figure out. You need to understand the purpose of why, because even God said nothing, your suffering is not in vain. So there's going to have to be some type of knowledge that you are going to have to come into to be sufficient for your soul to have some type of peace. I don't believe that we are dealing with a God who wants to keep us in confusion. I don't agree with that because the words say, I'm not the author of confusion. Again, it's all in the scripture. It's all, know God by his word. He said, no, lean not unto your own understanding. He said, I want to comfort you. I want to give you peace. I don't give you the spirit of fear, power, love, sound mind. But yet and still, we come up against all of this stuff. Or all of this stuff comes up against us as we're going through this life, even at a young life. It's way more difficult when you're young because you are limited in so many ways. You can't even really speak for yourself because who credits what a kid says? Who even stops and takes time to listen to a kid? So it's like, geez, you start out with your hands and feet tied up. And now it's like the enemy got free reign with you. And you don't understand, you don't get any of this. So you can be a child in a household filled with, arguing and bickering. And even if you got two parents in there, each parent got their own problems. And now, boom, generational curses, these cycles are created. And out of ignorance, the word says, my people perish for a lack of knowledge. We do not see how the enemy is taking every moment that presents an opportunity to move in on us, to creep in on us, slip in on us, slither right in on us when we're not paying attention. We're so consumed with this. We done got knocked down by this. We done got overpowered by this. We're dealing with this. We're facing that. All kinds of stuff. And boom, the enemy is using all this stuff because we trying to do this on our own. We're trying to fight it on our own. We trying to do opposite of what Ephesians chapter 6 tell us to do. We wrestling with each other. Meanwhile, these spirits just having a field day. They done invaded. And that's what it was for my family. We didn't have a spiritual covering. My parents didn't go to church. My grandfather, from what I know and remember, was a godly man. My grandfather took me to church, but my grandfather died when I was in kindergarten. And my grandmother, she attended when my grandfather was alive. It's almost like she lost her faith or she just wavered because she stopped going. And here I am still with a desire. I want it now because my grandfather now, he started something. So now I'm desiring it and I'm wanting it. And God will make sure, because he said, I'll grant you the true desires of your heart. Now, even as a child, you don't even realize you're communicating with a power. But God is always with us, even from he said, before I formed you and fashioned you in your mother's womb, I knew you. So God made sure that there were people to assist me. And the enemy made sure that there were people to assist me as well. Because it's two powers operating here. Now they going at it with each other. But we right here up in the middle of it because they battling each other through us, through the souls of man. And one power is saying to the other, I'm greater, and because I'm greater, I'm going to make sure that my purpose is fulfilled in this earth and in my people. And the other power is saying, no, 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 no. I'm going to come up against it and I'm going to oppose that. And I guarantee you, I can influence them. And I can hinder their steps and I can keep them from coming into the knowledge and the information that they need to empower them. I can hinder them from knowing you and your word and all this. This is just my imagination here, how this conversation must be going on, especially with me, seeing myself as the one they battling over now. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. It wasn't until about 10 years ago that God sat me down and really started to minister my life to me through the story of Job's life. Because as far as I was concerned, I didn't even stand a chance in hell. I'm thinking, Lord, this started way when I was a child. Now, what did you do as a child to make the hell rain on you like that? And being in the midst of all this darkness and exposed to all this stuff and all these different spirits. I was sexually experimented with at the age of 5. So boom, there goes the lust. Here go the spirit of lust. Now, at a very young age, it can impress itself upon me. All of these different little devices. And because of the brokenness in the home and the darkness that hovered over it, now these influences, these spirits are just, they have overtaken us. The hate and violence that was in my own home, my siblings battling each other, and my brothers fighting with my dad, and my dad and arguing with my mom, and just a mess. And all the while I'm wondering what is going on here. I'm wishing that I had a different family. Because it was madness. It didn't make sense. I didn't want to be a part of that. So by the time I knew it, the life that I thought, the family I thought I didn't want, I was longing for them. Because right before my very eyes, boom, just like that, we have been torn apart. This evil just, I'm talking about, blew in like a category 5. So through just the dysfunction in the home and, the chaos and the confusion and all the division and, all the things that the enemy need. And by the time I was 14, I had experienced all types of wickedness. I've been exposed to it. And then at 14 to be face to face with evil. To witness my mother's murder, my sister's murder, my niece was murdered, and I was stabbed 20 times. And I remember screaming so loud, oh God, he's trying to kill me, as that butcher knife was coming down on the back of my head, my neck. And I'm just screaming, oh God, he's trying to kill me. At 14, I still didn't know God. Just because my grandfather had taken me to church and I had experienced church as a child, I still didn't know God for myself. But God knew me. I didn't know any of the stuff that I know now. And I heard a voice tell me to stop fighting, stop screaming, fall over, hold my breath, and don't move. Now here I am, being stabbed to death. And now I got this voice. I don't know where it's coming from, but I hear it. It's on the inside of me, though. It's like a whisper you hear on the inside of you. the voice on the inside of you. And I didn't have time to question this voice because it was about survival. I just had to do it. Obedience is better than sacrifice. And I'm laying there and I'm thinking, he's going to kill me. Because I could feel him standing over me. Just want to check to see if I'm still breathing. And I see the voice came back. You don't even have to open your mouth to communicate with the Almighty Power, because the voice came back and said, just don't move. And then I came right on back and around and said, I don't know how much longer I can hold my breath. I never heard the voice again after that. All I heard was the man's footsteps walking away. I see there was two powers operating there. And one of them said, I told you, you can't take her life. Just like in Job, God gave him the assignment. God gave him the authority. He said you could do all this stuff to him, but you can't take his life. That tells me right there, I don't care what's going on. I don't care in what form. Satan can't take life. God has to grant the authority. I think it's in the book of Isaiah where God even said, I give life, I take life, and I preserve life. So I just got to clear that up right there. Okay. I know people die in ways all the time. God knows I didn't understand. I just didn't understand. Because, what did we do? This was a thought in my mind. All right, God, I know that we weren't good because we were always arguing. We was always fighting with each other. God, we wasn't going to church like we were supposed to be. God, we wasn't praying like we should have been. Okay, maybe my grandmother stopped believing when my grandfather died. But I said, God, I still don't think we did anything bad enough for this. So I stayed in confusion for a long time because this was happening from childhood. And then this tragedy hit when I was 14. And see, now today, right now I'm 42. And see, God really didn't even let me in on what was going on till about 10 years ago. So see, just like Job, I was in that confusion. I stayed in that confusion. And, and stuff kept happening. See, folk kept dying around Job. And, Job kept losing stuff. And then suddenly he's sick. He's stricken in his body, with infirmity and everything. And still he didn't have no idea that he was being set up and that the two powers was battling each other again. So I didn't know for a long time because God left me in that confusion. I didn't realize that it was all a part of the plan. To keep me in confusion, keep me under attack. So I'm going to prove to you. And see, unlike Job, I didn't know God. I wasn't aware of God the way that Job was. Job was an older man. I was a young girl. I was a baby. Okay. So it was like I ain't have no kind of training or covering or nothing. At least I didn't think I did, but because I couldn't see at the time. I didn't have the spiritual eyes to be able to see it and connect it. That from the very beginning, I had already been chosen, but then everybody is set up already in your life. And so my grandfather started the spiritual work. Okay. So when you have something happen to you, push you so far in darkness, you pent all up, you chained all up, you can't get loose, you can't even see what's around you. But it's torture and it's torment, because this is when the real experience of hell starts. Because you're thrown in there now, or you're exposed to it fully. Okay. So anything out of hell, it can come at you. It can come at you, and here you go. For one thing, you can't even see it, because spiritually, you in darkness. Okay? But you start feeling all this pain. You hear the torture in your mind. You hear these demons start tormenting you. You can hear the spirit of suicide. You can hear all these other voices. They're pushing you now. They're pushing you, especially the spirit of suicide. Fear. They're so mean and ugly. There are some strong men spirits. Start studying spirits. Do you know what I mean? Strong man spirits. Because these spirits, they rank. You got archangels of darkness. You got spirits that rank up under them. Just like God has an army, Satan has an army. That's what Ephesians 6 and 12 is showing you, the different ranks of the spirits and the powers on the dark side. So, now here you go. You all bound up. See, I know what it's like to be free and still be locked up. Because you can physically walk around, move around, and function. But your soul in prison. And people don't even know it. And if you're like me, you're a good actor. You gotta learn how to keep it covered. Because you know you got the stuff going on. You can't even figure it out yourself. You don't even know what to do. But you got to do your best to keep it covered. Because something inside of you telling you just to hold on. Just hang in there. Don't give up. Keep going. I got you. You don't know. You don't know where this voice coming from. You too scared to even trust it, because right now, I'm thinking, well, spared my life just to keep going through hell. That made me even more angry, because now I don't understand. What is the purpose of this? So then you do start feeling like Job. You start cursing the day you was born. You start cursing your life. Now you don't see no purpose for your life. You start tearing yourself down. You already got other people tearing you down. Job friends just start tearing him down. You done something wrong. There ain't no way all this stuff would be happening to you if you ain't done nothing. Okay? So even Job's wife came and said, you just need to cuss God and die. But Job knew. See, Job already had this relationship with this power. And Job said, you sound like a foolish woman now. You sound crazy. And even in the midst of Job, in his agony, in his pain, frustration, and confusion, he still reverenced almighty power. He still waited. He still trusted God. Even though he said a lot of stuff that wasn't true. That's because he didn't understand what he was going through. See, sometimes we going through stuff. And we start feeling like God don't love us. Because see, it's too deep inside of us to say, ain't no God. Because see, we done already been marked. So even when you're going through things that make you feel like that, because I done been there. But you know, the enemy creep in on you when you're in those places of weakness, when you're in those places of vulnerability, you know, when you're naive, when you're young, when you're immature, when you're confused, whatever going on and it got you pinned. See, the enemy don't come in on us when we're strong and when we on our feet. He wait till something knock us down. He wait, use something to hit us. And then that's when he move in for the kill. Okay. His top goal, kill, steal, destroy. It's at the top of the list. Don't matter how I do that. So, for me, I got real bitter with God now. I would hear this little voice saying stuff and I just ignore it. I was that full of anger until I didn't want to hear this voice. This voice had to save my life because now the enemy know how much I'm hurting too. So now I hear the enemy's voice telling me all this stuff. And now I'm looking at what I'm going through. And we starting to believe that. We start to believe what the enemy tell us. There's no way that Eve could have disobeyed and bit the fruit if she didn't actually believe what Satan was saying through the serpent. See? Devices. So now I'm listening to all this stuff that the enemy is saying. Before you know it, you go off and you're looking for stuff and you're looking for things. Stuff to comfort you, stuff to ease the pain, stuff to quiet the voices, stuff to take the images away. Then you find yourself in a whole nother fight with addiction spirits. Whether it be the influence of alcohol, it could be sex, it could be gambling, it could be drugs. This is the thing. It could be any substance. But the spirit is going to influence you through whatever you've chose to succumb to now. It's going to see that you are now seeking this out and you are using this as a therapy. So that's how the influence starts. That's how the oppression starts. And before you know it, you're addicted. Because you got a power now. You got a power that's influencing all of this. And this is how we get caught up. Nobody just wakes up and just decides to try a drug. Nobody just dreams about becoming a drug addict and then it manifests the next day. It don't happen like that. Anybody who's having or ever had a problem with a substance, drugs, alcohol, sex, even gambling, don't matter. Now this is another vice. This is a vice for something else. It's a vice for something else. But we done got caught up. We got in the ring, and we didn't realize that it was an unseen enemy in the ring. We couldn't see that enemy. This is spiritual warfare. This is the afflictions of the souls of man by these spirits. And that's why God is saying, this is what you need to do. We got instructions. We got covering. We got a power there, warring on our behalf. But obedience is better than sacrifice. And faith without work is dead. So there's always something that we need to be doing down here in the earth so that we can connect. See, we do what we can in the natural, and then God come back and put his super on our natural. Okay? And this is what activated, and this is how you don't have to worry when you're righteous. And when you follow the ways of righteousness, you don't have to worry. Because we already know God's power is greater. We already know we the righteousness of God. So the enemy is going to come after us. He's going to oppose every action, every step. We already know this. But we have to remember what God said. See? But when you don't know, you don't have anyone to help you, teach you, tell you nothing. You out there. You're just out there. All in a wide open, uncovered, unguarded. No weapon. No nothing. Now, how you make it out? How you make it out like that? How you make it out if it ain't a greater power operating here? So now I walked through hell. See, I wasn't even in the valley of the shadow of darkness. Because I tell you what, even if there's a shadow, that means there's light somewhere. But I'm going to tell you something. There was a season in my life that I wasn't even in a shadow of darkness. I was in complete darkness every day of my life for years. Mental torment, emotional anguish, misery. Every day I woke up and my prayer was, is this the day you let me die? It was that bad. I didn't want to live. I didn't see purpose for my life. Now here I had this addiction. Every time I turn around, I'm homeless. Lights turned off. Water turned off. Ain't no food. Every time I turn around, there's another problem. Now I know what Apostle Paul meant when he said, when you hard pressed on every side. And it don't stop. It just intensifies. You can't even see a way out, let alone think about a way out. You too weak. You done been not just knocked down, you knocked out. When you experiencing warfare, intense warfare like that, that's advanced level. That's new level. You're going to have to learn this warfare. You're going to have to learn these spirits. You're going to have to learn the devices. Because we have children. And this world has so many devices that the enemy uses. And our kids have been set way astray. Our kids self-destructing. Our children killing each other. Our children killing themselves. Our children destroying themselves with drugs and alcohol and all kind of other pills and stuff they doing, putting in their systems and everything. Because they don't know the devices of the enemy. They don't know the different ways that the enemy can creep in. They don't have no understanding of it. And we got to teach them. We have to teach them. But a lot of us, we up under siege. But God says it's time. See, this is a great stirring. Even though everything's all a setup. This is a next level. This is a new level of warfare here now. And God said, it's about my timing. It's a timeline. See, I just need somebody. I need somebody who willing and obedient. So I say, you know what? Since you done brought me through all this stuff here, since you done brought me through all of this darkness, since you done gave me so much understanding up until this point, God, I still don't understand everything. There's still answers. God ain't revealed stuff to me. I may not get them all on this side, in this lifetime, and that's okay, because I know enough to know that I belong to the Almighty, that I've been marked for good and righteousness. And so when I look back on all this stuff now, all this stuff that I was in my own life, I can't even talk about all the awesome testimonies I done heard, what God done did for other people. But I'm talking about my own life. So you know what I said? I said, you know what? It's time for me to really fulfill some purpose here. Because now God said that nothing you go through is in vain. But now, this thing, it started off, it was personal between God and Satan from the very beginning. From even beyond what we know as the beginning. But now, see, God revealed some things to me. Gave me a great understanding. But now, it done got to the point where it done got personal with me. Because, see, I see these spirits of darkness. I see them like bullies. Okay? And I always had a bully, not just in my house. Because my siblings, they bullied me. They bullied me all the time, every chance they got. But see, I had a bully out there in the earth every time. Every school I went to. Didn't matter what grade, it was always a bully somewhere. And see, I learned, I didn't see how God was showing me stuff then, preparing, just a setup all the way from the beginning. Because it was third grade, finally, when I decided I was going to stand up to this one bully. And she was tall, skinny girl. But she was like the tallest girl in the school. Everybody was scared of her. And one day I just said, well, I tell you what, I know I ain't did nothing to this girl. But since she walk around here now, she know everybody's scared of her. So she'll make up stuff just where she can come pick and poke at you. So what I did one day, somebody said, oh, so-and-so, she said she gonna do this to you. And I said, well, if she hit me, I'm gonna hit her back. And that was it. So finally, we sit in the cafeteria, and her class come in, and they stand in the line. And I just so happen to be sitting at the table, right there on the outskirt where the line at. And she started eyeballing me. And the folks sitting at the table with me say, there she go, there she go. So she walked up over to me with a little smirk on her face. And she leaned down and she whispered in my ear, and she said, did you say that you was going to hit me back if I hit you? And I looked over at her and I said, yes, I did. And she just looked at me and she stood up and she turned around and she walked back to the line. Because see, that was the beginning of God starting to show me then, all the way back then. You're going to have to look a bully in the eye. You're going to have to confront a bully. Because if you don't, they're going to keep on bullying you. You could be standing face to face with a bully and they still on your back. Because until you strong enough to stand up to them and to fight them back in whichever way you got to fight them back, that's the only way you're going to get rid of them. And so that's when When God started revealing to me, letting me in on what was going on a little bit through the story of Job, I connected these spirits with these bullies back in my childhood. And that's when I realized I was going to have to stay in the ring. Going to have to stay in the ring with this addiction spirit until you beat it, until you stand up to it. You're going to have to stay in the ring with the spirit of lust before you can break it off of your life. Because now it's just influencing you just to run around from man to man. Not for the purpose of just spreading yourself, but you're looking for that love. You're looking for that one. And see, the spirit, it knows. See, this is how these spirits want to condemn the righteous. Because we make a mistake, we take a step, and we know that our intention wasn't bad. We know that our motive wasn't bad. We know that we was coming from a pure place in our heart. We know we wasn't doing it because of no malice. But then we find ourselves caught up because we didn't see the unseen enemy. Because we didn't see the spirit. We didn't see the trap that it had done set. We didn't see what it was using. Okay? See, God used the pure. The enemy prey on the pure too. Okay? And see, then we find ourselves in this stuff. And then all these other spirits now, because they know you righteous. Satan know you righteous. See, this is all a setup about the righteous now. Satan know you righteous. So now you done made this mistake. You done stepped out, and you done got into this trap. And now you're dealing with the shame, and you're dealing with the embarrassment, and you're dealing with guilt. And these are all the spirits that'll make you want to keep this thing in. Because you don't want to share it with anybody else because you're afraid of the judgment and what other people going to think and how they going to look at you. But God knows. God knows your heart. And that's why He wants you to know there's no condemnation. There's no condemnation for the righteous. If you in Christ, ain't no condemnation for you. If you walking upright before God, ain't no condemnation for you. You've been redeemed. The words say, if you've been redeemed, say so. See, but these spirits, these are the tactics, these are devices, these are the wiles, all different kind of ways the enemies, they use this to come up against the people of God. Because if I can get in your mind, and if I can influence you, if I can entrap you there in your thinking, then I got you. I can keep you hindered up. I might not be able to take your life. That's okay. Because if I can still keep you in confusion, if I can keep you distracted, I keep you off course, then God does not have your undivided attention. Your discernment, you all messed up in your spirit. You can't discern the voice. You can't discern the voice of the spirit talking to you because you got all this other stuff jumbled up in your spirit now. So we got to keep our spirits cleansed from this stuff because that's our communication line with this infinite spirit. God is a spirit that speaks to our spirit. Okay? And I've been trained by this spirit. And that's why I'm real hard on myself when I done erred. Because, well, you know better. And then God has to come and show me, well, you got arrogant. Yeah, that pride, you let that pride sneak up on you and you start getting a little arrogant here. Whatever the case it is, God have to show it to us. That's why David said, God, show me the hidden things of my heart, the secret things of my heart. Because even God knows the things of our heart that we don't even know is there. God had to show me my heart, Because when I was in the midst of this stuff, the spirits, they were afflicting me greatly. I can't even describe what the suffering, what it felt like. And I began to get so bitter, so angry. I was mad at God. And Satan, that's just where he wants you at. Okay? He wants you ticked off with God. Because that's what he can really start ministering to you. Go back, remember the story of Cain and Abel. It said he was talking to Cain. Got him off by himself. And was fellowshipping, communing with him. Just filling him up now with all of these lies and stuff. Because he know Cain already ticked off. He already bitter. You see, I started to faint in my heart. I started to cuss God. I wish that I could say that I was like Job and I didn't cuss God. But out of my ignorance and my pain and my sufferings and the influence of evil that was on my life, I cussed God. And I'm not proud of that, but I have to say this because it's just more evidence of how awesome this power is. Like the Apostle Paul said, there is nothing, not life, death, height, width, length, nothing can separate me from the love of God. Not even the ugliness that started to form inside of me and in my heart. God loves us so much that grace and mercy is going to always be sufficient. When you in it, and you think you in it by yourself, God is with you. You are not alone. I don't care what it is. I don't care what you're going through. I don't care what we're facing right now. If you think that God is not with us, and God is not going to keep us and cover us just as he promised, you better get Satan out your ear. Because I'm telling you, this power is not going to leave you nor forsake you as long as you're righteous. God ain't going to do it. God loved me when I didn't love myself. When I couldn't see purpose, God said, hold on. I'm going to show you there's a purpose for this. I love you too much just to have you suffering just for no reason at all. I created you to bring glory and honor to my name. Many afflictions are the righteous, but God will deliver us from them all. Sometimes the thing that God wants us to do is the last thing that we want to do. But as much as I know that God loves me, I know he loves you just as much. God is no respecter of person. He's not going to turn anyone away that comes to him. Even the wicked, he said, if you want to come and you want to get yourself together, I'm waiting on you. I want you too. You mine too. And we still get a choice in coming through all of those corridors of hell, being stuck there for so long. With all of those devices, all of the things that surrounded me, all of the stuff that was designed to take me out. God manifested his power in my life every time that I thought this was it. I got more lives than a cat. All the times death came. I know we all have to die sometime. But that doesn't mean you have to go with death just because it comes. There is a predestined time to die. And there's a premature time. That's in the word. That's in the word. Jesus was calling folk back from the dead all the time. Not just Paul, Peter, they was healing people, they was calling people back and everything. That tell me something right there. Old Testament, even Hezekiah. The prophet Isaiah came to him and said, God said, set your house in order, surely you're going to die. Hezekiah turned himself to the wall and prayed out to God. See, this is your righteous one here. God said, I heard your prayer. I heard y'all say, I see your tears. I grant thee 15 more years to your life. That's my point. Just because death come knocking, that does not mean it's your time to go. You're not going to know if you don't rise up in faith and find out. That's the bottom line. When is your time to go, you going to go. I don't care what method it is, because I tried to kill myself more than once. Under the influence now of these powers, these voices. But the greater power said, nope. Not your time. Not this way. Now, I know it's plenty of other people that kill themselves and they gone. That was a part. It was already predestined. I'm sorry. Go and read the book of Judges about Samson. I know a lot of people think that suicide is an unforgivable sin. That's not true. It's in the New Testament. Blaspheme of the Holy Ghost is the unforgivable sin. Because even in suicide, God still has to authorize that life to come back to him. How not? He's put us all here with purpose. So why would he not be in control of when we come back? He knows when we have fulfilled that purpose. I'm sorry about how confusing it is with the ways that people transition through death. I know, trust me, to see my mother murdered the way that I did. Oh, Jesus, that said about some tremendous confusion. I get it. But I'm telling you, this power is great. It's great. I couldn't let my suffering see God's word is going to always manifest when you trusting and believing him and standing on it. So it's manifesting now because your suffering is not in vain. God, however you're going to use me for your glory. Because I have to make all of this count. I have to make it count for something. We got to be careful about the devices of the enemy. These are unseen enemies. We have to see them through the devices that they use and how they operate. This is the only way we're going to be able to identify. That's just like the air. The wind, when it blows, we can't physically see wind, but we can see the effect that it has when it's operating. We can see the limbs blowing. We can see dirt flying, and we see the effect that it has. So we got to see these spirits by the way that they influence the souls of man and the behavior that takes place under that influence. That's just like a person under the influence of drugs and alcohol. Now you see that they are behaving like this because of the drug or the alcohol. So that's the same thing with these spirits. Man can't behave like this without an influence of darkness to the soul to do wicked and evil things. Now this man that killed my family, this was my sister's boyfriend. At 15, she met her killer. Why? Because there was no validation at home. No love expression in the home. Darkness hovered over us. There was no spiritual covering. So we were the city without walls. And we were invaded. So now because of the lack of what she is not getting at home, we are all wired and programmed for love. Because God is love, and now he has put life in us. He has created us in his image and in his likeness. So we are creatures that are supposed to exemplify love always. So she went out looking for something that wasn't in the home. And my goodness, a little sheep ran off, and guess what? She came in contact with a wolf, but he was in sheep clothing. So now she thought she was with another little sheep. Oh my God. Boom. Before we know it, look at that. A whole nother influence of evil done sat in. This man abused my sister. He killed her a week before her 20th birthday. So nearly 5 years. And some heinous things that he did to my sister. I know that evil is real. I know these spirits are real. I know that God is real, so therefore Satan is real. We cannot have one without the other. I'm sorry. You can't believe in one without the other. That's a deception in and of itself. And if we are not guarded and covered, if we are not seeking God, so that we know what is his will for our life, because he's going to lead us when we stay in consistent communication with the Almighty. You just walk in, the word already say your steps are already ordered. Then you don't have to worry about getting snared inside, stepping inside, tracking. But sometimes we fall. I don't mean that you done fell out of the will of God. Don't let the enemy whisper these lies in your ear. Because you righteous. And the Bible says a righteous man can fall 7 times. But guess what make him righteous? He gets back up each time. Don't let the enemy keep you in a place of self-loathing and self-pity and condemnation and all this stuff. Because God can't use you when you got all that dirt and all that filth and all that mess over you like that. And too many times people are making excuses Why they doing what they doing? Because what happened to them. Something has happened to all of us. We are all capable of walking around here becoming killers and assassins and shooting up schools and murdering families and all kinds of stuff. If you let darkness set in like that and turn your heart, it will happen. I experienced this. There was a true battle going on between these two powers over me. I saw this with my own eyes. Because I started up not knowing anything. That's how I know which power is greater. I didn't know what to do. And this power just warred for me. And then began to teach me and show me and give me understanding. And that's when I began to tap into this power. That's when I really start seeing this word come alive in my life. The Bible says in the beginning was the word, and then the word was made flesh. This is the real true example of how I saw this word manifest in my life. It came alive in my life. And God will war for the righteous. The word said, God, arise and let your enemies be scattered. Because when you don't know what to do, stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. When you've done all that you can to stand, I'll say just keep standing. God say, the enemy can come in like a flood, but I'm going to raise a standard up against them. He said, every tongue that rise up in judgment, you going to condemn it. Go back and read the scripture. You going to condemn it. He said, the enemy come in one way, but he shall flee 7 different ways. I done seen this word operating for a long time in my life. I can't stop trusting now. I done been brought too far. Ooh, God. Oh, Jesus. I know God is great and mighty. Great and mighty. When the enemy send any and everything that he can to beat you down and tear you down and destroy you, devour you, there's something greater working in your life. Them 3 Hebrew boys, they was down there in that fire. Didn't even know it was a 4th man in there. Okay? Daniel locked up in that lion den. Okay, he wasn't in there by himself. Joseph was in that prison, in that pit. He wasn't in there by himself. Okay? We are not alone. And no matter how fierce the warfare, God's power is greater. And it's operating in our lives. God is going to do what he said he was going to do. And everything else that's happening in this earth, all these other timelines that are being met, and these Bible prophecies that are unfolding. Why am I righteous worried about this? Because I'm telling you not to worry about this stuff. This stuff is going to happen. It's supposed to be happening. But don't you let this get you consumed, because the enemy just going to use it as another way. When you get wrapped up with anxiety, here come these spirits, fear, all this stuff. It don't matter how I can tangle you up. It don't matter how I can chain you up. It don't matter how I can afflict you. Let me get in there to your mind. That's why the words say, don't conform. Don't conform to this thinking. Don't conform to this stuff. But be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Only God can take us through this transformation. It's a process. It's a transformation. It's a process of elevation. Because as he lifts you higher, as you come up higher, you transcending subconscious layers now. You're coming into spirit. You're being aligned with spirit. So that way you're not moved by stuff like the rest of the world. See, the scriptures say we are in this world, but not of it. So though we've all been impacted, we're not supposed to be all affected the same way. And that's just the bottom line. I got to keep trusting God because I saw this power operating for a very long time. You know, the story of my life is super long, but I have shared some things simply because it just helped to kind of paint the picture in a little bit for what I see with this spiritual warfare and these spirits and what God has shown me and revealed to me just through my own life and being in battle with them. Ooh. Oh, God, you're awesome. God, I thank you for using me yet another time. God, I thank you that you've placed hot coals on my tongue. And Father, the word that you've placed in me, God, let me speak it just as you so ordained me to do so. I lift your people up today, Father, because I know that all things work together for a greater good. And whoever was supposed to receive this message, I know that you are going to use it to bless them tremendously. I thank you for your word, God, and I thank you for watching over your word and keeping your promises to your people. This is JP. You've been listening to Soul Talk for your spirit walk. Peace.